At 61, the tragedy of my life is not what people think it is. And the older I get, the more I realize how much of my story people only see from the outside. They see the films, the awards, the characters carved out of sweat and sleepless nights, but they don't see the quiet moments afterward when the lights go off and you're left asking yourself who you've become after pouring so much of your soul into someone who doesn't exist. I've carried the weight of aging under the spotlight, not because getting older is a curse, but because every year reminds me of the friendships I lost to ego, the chances I walked past because I thought there'd be more time, and the pieces of myself I left behind on sets all around the world. Fame looks glamorous until you realize it amplifies your flaws louder than your triumphs. And while people cheered the roles I played, they never saw the private battles I was fighting quietly, trying to keep parts of my life from falling apart. There are moments I wish I could rewrite, times I acted out of pride, times I held on to anger, times I let my own storms drown out the people who were trying to love me. And there are moments I can't change, no matter how many nights I spend turning them over in my mind. These years have humbled me, softened me, taught me that strength isn't loud, it isn't forceful, it isn't the bravado people expect from a man like me. Strength is choosing patience over impulse, peace over ego, understanding over anger. I've lost people I cared for deeply, watched relationships fade that I thought would last forever, and fought battles inside myself that no one will ever fully understand. And the truth is, the real tragedy isn't getting older or being forgotten or watching the media twist the parts of your life they find profitable. The real tragedy is finally recognizing how fast it all went, realizing how many memories I rushed through, how many moments I didn't stop to appreciate because I was too busy chasing the next thing. It took me decades to understand that the strongest man is the one who learns when to let go, when to forgive himself, when to look back, not with regret, but with gratitude for the lessons hidden inside every mistake and every heartbreak. And that's where I stand now, still learning, still healing, still finding my way, carrying the scars of my past, not as burdens, but as reminders of a life fully lived, even if imperfectly. And the truth is, when you reach my age, you start to understand that life has a way of stripping you down until there's nothing left but the truth. And the truth is never as clean or heroic as the stories people tell about you. I've spent years playing men who were stronger, braver, more disciplined than I ever was. Men who stood unshaken in the middle of chaos, while I, in my real life, struggled to keep parts of myself from crumbling. People talk about legacy, about the work you leave behind, but nobody talks about the nights you lie awake, wondering if you gave enough to the people who mattered, or if you let your own ambition push them too far into the background. There were times when fame felt like a blessing, and times when it felt like a cage I built with my own hands, locking myself inside expectations I could never fully live up to. I pushed myself harder than I should have, carried anger longer than was healthy, and held on to the belief that being tough meant never showing how much you hurt. And in doing that, I closed doors I should have walked through, shut out people who only wanted to help, and convinced myself I didn't need anyone, even when I did. Aging has a way of peeling back the armor, of making you face the parts of yourself you ignored for decades. The regrets, the loneliness, the pieces of your life that don't fit neatly into interviews or headlines. You start thinking about the laughter you didn't linger on long enough, the forgiveness you waited too long to offer, the hugs you rushed because you were late to something that doesn't even matter anymore. And you realize the tragedy of your life isn't the mistakes, it's the moments you didn't slow down to feel. I think about the people I've lost, family, friends, mentors, and how many times I assumed they'd always be there. You never imagine the last conversation is the last until it is. And then you carry their absence like a quiet weight that settles into your bones, a reminder that you can't outfight time, no matter how strong you once were. I've wrestled with myself, with the man I was and the man I tried to be. And somewhere along the way, I learned that age doesn't make you weaker. It just makes you honest. Honest about the scars you hid, the apologies you owe, the dreams you let slip through your fingers because you thought tomorrow would wait for you. But with that honesty comes something else, something gentler, a sense of peace I never had in my youth when I was too busy trying to prove myself to the world. Now, I'm learning that life isn't about being the loudest voice or the strongest presence in the room. It's about choosing the quiet moments, the real moments, the ones that don't need applause to mean something. I'm learning to appreciate stillness, to value kindness more than pride, to hold on to the people who stay even when the spotlight fades. And maybe that's not tragic at all. Maybe it's just the truth of growing older, realizing that the most important battles you fight are the ones inside yourself. And the greatest victories are the small ones no one else ever sees. At 61, I'm still figuring out how to carry everything I've lived through, how to forgive myself for the things I can't change, and how to make peace with the man I've become. And if there's any hope left in me, and there is, it's in knowing that even after everything, there's still time to grow, still time to heal, still time to love what's left of the life I have, and to finally understand that tragedy doesn't define me unless I let it. And the thing I've come to realize after all these years is that the world remembers your successes far louder than it remembers your humanity. People see the awards, the headlines, the big roles, the applause that echoes long after the curtain falls. But they don't see the cost, the toll it takes on a man to constantly live up to an image that never belonged to him in the first place. I spent decades trying to be invincible, building this myth around myself, this idea of the unbreakable man, the warrior, the hero. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that real strength isn't in pretending you feel nothing. It's in admitting that everything has touched you, shaped you, changed you. I wish someone had told me earlier that it's okay to slow down, to breathe, to step back from the noise and ask yourself who you are, without the roles, without the expectations, without the spotlight. Because when the crowds fade and the scripts end and the cameras turn away, what's left is just a man looking at his own reflection, trying to recognize what he sees. And some days, I'll be honest, that's the hardest part. There are mornings I wake up and feel the weight of time in my bones, the stiffness in my hands, the quiet reminder that the body I once trusted without question now requires patience, caution, forgiveness. I think about the days when I pushed myself too hard, when I treated exhaustion like a badge of honor, when I ignored my own limits because I thought slowing down meant failing. Aging has taught me that slowing down isn't failure. It's wisdom. It's survival. It's the body gently asking you to listen after years of being ignored. And then there's the emotional side of it, the part nobody warns you about, the part where you outgrow people you thought would be permanent, or they outgrow you, or life just pulls you in different directions until all you're left with are memories that feel like ghosts. Visiting you at night, I've lost people I love deeply, not just to time or distance, but to misunderstandings, pride, stubbornness, moments where I should have spoken softer or listened longer but didn't. And those mistakes stay with you. They echo in the quiet moments. They remind you that even the strongest men carry regrets they can't rewrite. And yet, with all that, with the heartbreaks and the missteps and the storms I walked straight into, I've also learned that life has a strange way of offering you new beginnings when you least expect it. I've learned that healing doesn't come in one wave. It comes in small pieces, little moments of clarity, a sudden calm in the middle of a long night, a memory that hurts a little less than it did the year before. And as I sit here now, speaking to you, I'm realizing something important. The tragedy people talk about when they speak my name. It's not fame's burden, or aging, or the roles I didn't get, or the mistakes I made. The real tragedy would be if I stopped growing because of them, if I let them harden me instead of soften me, if I let them convince me that my best moments belong to the past instead of the future. Because the truth is, even at 61, there's something inside me that's still learning, still reaching, still hoping for a gentler version of life than the one I lived in my youth. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the greatest lesson age gives us is the understanding that we're allowed to start over, even when the world thinks our story is already written, that we can still become better men, kinder men, wiser men, men who understand that strength isn't in being unbreakable. It's in knowing how to rebuild yourself every time life breaks you open. And that's where I stand now, somewhere between who I was and who I'm still becoming, holding on to the belief that the future still has room for healing, for forgiveness, for love, for redemption, and maybe for a little peace too. And if my journey means something to you, stay with me, learn with me, grow with me, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.